Donald Trump's son, Eric, is with us. He's Executive Vice President of Development and Acquisitions for the Trump Organization. Good morning.
It's great to be with you, Charlie.
Your father seems to be under attack, from John McCain to Warren Buffett. He seems to be spending a lot of time explaining himself and on the defensive. Yeah. What is the family advising him, those who are closest to him, in this moment of toughness for him and this campaign?
And I think everybody told us that the toughest 3 months of our lives are going to be the months after the convention. They said, in presidential politics, and you guys aren't politicians, but it is just absolutely, ruthless. And I think we're seeing that, right? We're going to be attacked, and we're going to be attacked by a lot of people. And
Gold Star families are not ruthless. Yeah. These are people who made the ultimate sacrifice, losing a son, and he seemed late to coming to an appreciation of that.
But by the way, there's no question. I mean, you see anybody who dies for their nation, dies for, the three of us at this table, made the ultimate sacrifice. But, for my father, in terms of the Khan family, it's not about a soldier who's an amazing guy. My father even said that during the interview. It sounds like he's a really amazing guy. This is about a big problem that we have around the world, and that's radical terror. And you see what's happening all over our country, right? You see Orlando, and you see San Bernardino, and you see so many cases in our country. You see Nice last week, and there was a priest who was beheaded in his own church the other day. And, my father's simple message, it's not an anti-Muslim message. It's an anti-terror message. It's, we have ISIS, and they're running rampant around the world, and we have to do something about it. And quite frankly, if you look at Hillary...
But Warren Buffett said yesterday, do you at long last have no decency?
But Charlie, Warren Buffett has his own agenda, right? I mean, you understand why he's always on the side of the Democrats, right? He doesn't want the Keystone Pipeline to be built. One of his biggest, investments is obviously railroad companies. They ship oil from Canada down to the U.S. Of course, he's going to do anything to not have Donald Trump be president, because my father's really into energy and oil exploration. And
but Eric, is there no one on Team Trump that says, listen, to Charlie's point about the Gold Star families, maybe we should apologize, maybe we should tone it down. We've offended a lot of people here. Is there no one on Team Trump that thinks to take a different tactic?
My father called him a hero on so many different occasions. And it's interesting. I went to every single debate, every single one of my father's debate, and I took great pride in doing that. I've gone to hundreds and hundreds of his rallies. Either first, second, or third point that he always brings up is the VA and how bad the VA is. And here you have Hillary a couple weeks ago saying the VA was unbelievable and it's not as bad as everybody thinks, and it's really amazing. At the same time, we have 22 veterans that are dying every single day, committing suicide every single day, many of them because they're not getting treatment at the VA. His whole thing has been military first, veterans first, and I find it so ironic. I also find it ironic that you have Pat Smith, who's the mother of one of the Benghazi, the soldiers that died in Benghazi.
Who spoke at your convention.
Who spoke at our convention. Between all the news networks, she got 70 seconds of airtime. The Khan family has gotten hours and hours of airtime. And what's ironic about that was Hillary was the one that left them on the roof in Benghazi. It was Hillary's policy that crippled Libya and Syria and Iraq and caused so many of these deaths.
One of the things, when Pat Smith actually spoke at the Republican convention, your dad called into Bill O'Reilly, and so the channel switched to your dad calling into Bill O'Reilly. So it wasn't even covered on Fox because of that. So it may have been a mistake, but that was one of the...
But there's very little follow-up. And I think the point that I'm trying to make, Nora, is, it almost does seem like there's a double standard between the two. Hillary's policies put those people there. My father was actually against the Iraq war, right? I mean, you could arguably say that many of those soldiers would still be alive today if my father was commander-in-chief back then, because he was totally against going into so many of those places.
But your father's running mate also voted for the Iraq war.
And he spoke, but that's not my father. I mean, that's not my father. But he always talked about, don't go into Syria, don't go into Libya, don't go into Iraq. I mean, you're going to destabilize the Middle East. And so it's just very ironic that somebody who voted for all of these things, is ultimately getting credit in this situation.
Can I ask you something, going back to your father's support of veterans, as you note? We now have families of 23 fallen soldiers, Gold Star families, who have written a letter specifically to your father, and it says this: when you question a mother's pain by implying that her religion, not her grief, kept her from addressing an arena of people, you are attacking us. When you say your job buildings is akin to our sacrifice, you are attacking our sacrifice. You are not just attacking us, you are cheapening the sacrifice made by those we lost. They want an apology. Would your father be willing to apologize and move on?
Well, I think that's a great question for him, and I think he has by calling them a hero. In terms of the one question, whether you've made a sacrifice, I think my father has. Now, that's certainly not the ultimate sacrifice. The ultimate sacrifice is a soldier dying for this nation and dying to protect the three of us. There's no question about it.
Is it difficult for him to apologize, Eric, on anything? You know him probably better than anybody.
My father's a fighter. My father's a fighter, and I think this country needs a fighter. And I think he was attacked the other day, and he was attacked viciously. And by the way, that's politics. You're going to get attacked. If you don't understand that going into the race.
Who tells your father he's wrong? Who tells him he's wrong?
We can tell him he's wrong.
When was the last time you told him he was wrong?
Oh, listen, but we do it respectfully, and we go back and forth as a family, and I think that's actually the benefit of having kind of children be part of this process.
Do you think he's wrong on this?
I think this is something that was honestly blown hugely out of proportion because he first of all said the Khan family looked like amazing people in that interview, which for whatever reason never wants to get reported. He called him a hero on so many, so many different times.
But
and again, he wasn't talking. This isn't a Muslim thing. This is an ISIS thing, and this is also an anti-immigration, anti-Syrian refugee thing coming into the country, because he doesn't want to see more Americans dead. I mean, my father's a great patriot. He doesn't want to see more Americans dead, and he's seeing what's happening around the country, and quite frankly, he's shaking his head.
They're telling us we have to go. With respect to Raja Ailes' question and with respect to Ivana and what he would advise her, does your father stick by what he said, or does he think that perhaps a better answer would be it ought to be to the attention of human resources and other things that we can do with respect to sexual harassment in the workplace?
There is no question. There is no question that obviously it should be addressed, and it should be addressed strrongly. And hey, listen, we all run a company. My father runs a company. We take this. That is a absolute no-go anywhere, and that's very much the case. I think what he was saying is, Ivanka is a strong, powerful woman. She wouldn't allow herself to be, objected, to it. And by the way, you should certainly take it up with human resources. And I think, she definitely would as a strong person. At the same time, I don't think she would allow herself to be subjected to that. And I think that's the point he was making, and I think he did so well.
Thank you. Great to have you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
good
Eric.
being with you.
To be continued.
As always.
Thank you, Eric, yes.